Hi guys, and welcome back to another Community Talk podcast episode. And I'm happy to be joined with Haider Rubbani. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, good, mate. I'm really happy to be on. I know we've been talking for a long time, and we do go quite way back, don't we? We go back to sort of like April time, don't we? When you used to come on mine. So yeah, mate, I'm happy to be here. You're doing some great stuff. I'm loving the whole sort of setup. So yeah, let's do it. I'm happy.
Yes, we've obviously known each other for a while, and we've tried to get it sorted. But as you know, this is a weekly series, and we're going on from the future. We'll be getting guys on from Instagram and Twitter as well, hearing their views about United, the ups and downs. But just before we get into the actual podcast itself, just make sure to follow us on the socials and like and subscribe. But yeah, so we're going to just quickly move on. I won't hold you too long today, Haider, but the first point that I need to make, and it's on my mind for a while, is that do you think that, I mean, we've not had success for a while now. I mean, yes, we won Europa League. Still not exactly what I want. And yes, it brought a buzz to the place, and everyone for a brief period was like, "We're doing well. We're back to where we belong." But really, what do you think the club needs to do to succeed in the long term?
It's $1 million question, isn't it? It's such a tough one. There's so many problems at the club, and you can't even talk about anything before you talk about the ownership. We know that, and Woodward, director of football, but let's just put that to a side because I don't think that's changing anytime soon. That's not something we have control of. I think the first thing is that, I know we'll probably differ on this, but I think when you look around at the two top clubs currently in English football, and I know Man City aren't doing very well at the moment, fantastic world-class manager. They're not doing well, but you look at it historically, Pep's a fantastic manager. You can't say that he's not. And also you look over at, unfortunately, the Scousers, and they've got the best manager in the world. Now, I think Ollie's done a fantastic job. I think he's steadied the ship. This is a good squad, which we will talk about later. But sometimes I do feel like he's hit a ceiling. You know, he's done a fantastic job, but United need someone who can coach the players better, who can change games on its head, which I don't think the in-game management is good enough, and also to provide a style of play and identity that United fans can turn around and say, right, okay, so United are playing tomorrow, they're going to play like this. And sometimes I don't feel like we can do that. We know that it's a preferred system of 4-2-3-1. We know that we do want to try and play attacking football, but I think at the moment United are just in that sort of catch-22. They'll have a fantastic result, and then you're going to have a couple of terrible ones, and then there's some more fantastic results. So it's really difficult. What can United do to get back to the top? Recruitment's important. I think it's improved under Ollie. I think I would argue that his signings have been the best ones over the past 7 years. He's not getting his first choice targets again, and that's a problem. And the club need to decide how they're going to move forward. Bringing a director of football is the first thing, and having someone who they believe can actually lead United back to the top. Now, maybe the management and the sort of upper management think that. And if they do, that's great. But I think starting with it first, I think United need to possibly look at the management and think, right, either bring in a really good number two for Ollie, someone who can really get these boys playing and coached at a higher level, or make a change. And it's a tough one because he isn't the problem, really. He's one of the problems, perhaps. But the biggest problem we all know is the Glazers and Woodward. And until they go, unfortunately, we're going to be in this situation again and again unless we hit the jackpot with the manager.
Yeah, I do think, I mean, I disagree with you on some of the points. Obviously, we don't share the same views on the management, but obviously I think everyone shares the same view. Some are way more extreme than others, which I personally don't agree with. But with the owners, with the Glazers, I think a lot of those guys too far. I can understand partly where they're coming from, but it's as if they're out to really hate on United, which I'm not for at all. This question was basically made because, I mean, myself and you, we obviously spoke for months now about Ole in and out, basically. And I think, I mean, you're probably one of the biggest people who think, yes, he's done okay so far, but can he take us to the next stage? And I think no manager could take us to that next stage, to be honest. And I don't think we can sack Ole because of that. I think Ole has done very well. The signings that he's made, I think Maguire, I mean, I don't know your views on him. We could probably talk about him after this. I think Maguire's good. I think he's probably our best defender. And you look at, I mean, probably the only player that jumps out to me that hasn't been successful is Dan James, who was 15 million. In the grand scheme of things, yes, that does sound a lot, but in football terms, that's not much. And a lot of these signings haven't been first choice. You need to remember that. As you said, we missed out on basically every single one of our first targets in the summer there. We'll go on later to talk about the possible January signings, but I think we're just hitting a brick wall, and we've been like this for years now. And I finally now get the platform to sit and talk about it, but it's so frustrating, the fact that, yes, everyone has different views, but at the end of the day, everyone has the same view that the Glazers need to sell this club. But let's be real, it's not going to happen, and it's painful, and it's painful for a United fan to sit and have to talk about this. The owners should be pumping in money into the club. Yes, they should be getting benefits out of it as well, probably. Like, I mean, one of the biggest clubs in the world. But yeah, I can't always agree with you on Ole, though.
Well, we never agreed on it, but and this is not me being reactionary. You've been on my podcast for dating back to April when we talked, and I've had this view. I've had this view since he walked in through the door, because for me, he was always the caretaker. Now, my biggest problem, we talk about the Glazers are a problem, but I think as a fan base, United are too sentimental. And I'll tell you why. And this is not to have a go at anyone. I'll tell you there's two groups that I can't handle. And I know you're not like this. I know that because I know you well. There's the ones who cannot praise him at all. And that's just anything he does, they're just waiting for him to fail so they can throw the abuse. The PE teacher doesn't know what he's doing, got no tactics. He has got tactics, because you don't finish third in the league with no tactics. So that's the first group. And then you've got the other group of people that are such staunch Ole supporters that they can't see when he does anything wrong. And again, neither of us sit in either group. I find myself sitting more in the group that I don't think he's good enough. But then also, when he came third, I thought, right, this is a perfect platform for him to push off now. He retains my support. He needs to be back in the summer. We've discussed that. But the other flip side is that there's some really good players here. He hasn't figured out how to play Pogba in the midfield regularly with Bruno, or someone like Van der Beek with Bruno. We're playing with two defensive midfielders. If you're going to break it down into those sort of parts, as a coach, you have to get the most out of what you've currently got in your squad. And I don't think he's doing that. Two, he's developed a lot of good players, by the way. Greenwood, he's developed Marcus, Martial, he's developed. But what you're seeing is players are developing, but the system, the whole team isn't going to the next level as a unit, right? So defensively, his unit's fantastic. He's got a really good organization. But going forward in attack, we're not fluid enough. And that's not to say he doesn't have tactics. But this is where you have to question. This doesn't mean that, I always say this, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer could be the manager of Man United. He could be good enough, okay? But I think he got the job too soon. If he'd, for example, been at Mulder, picked up a smaller job, like let's say Southampton in the Premier League, earned his way up, had 3, 4, 5 years at a club, because you can't judge him on Cardiff, because Cardiff were going down. If he'd had a club like that, learnt the trade, and then taken the United job, I think you'd probably be seeing him not learn on the job. And this is a problem. He's learning on the job. And that's not always his fault. That's the circumstances that he's been put in. But Man United should be going out and getting a manager who doesn't need to learn on the job. There are aspects you learn in Man United. When it comes to not getting his signings, we all know we can discuss that till the cows come home. But I still don't think he's getting the best out of what he's currently got. So I think Sancho would have made a difference. I think Grealish probably would have made a difference. But where would Grealish have played? Because if Van der Beek's not getting into the team, where would you play Jack Grealish? I think you would have had a similar situation, possibly in midfield. He would have played, possibly on the left if Marcus isn't playing. But these are the points. You can give him all the players he wants. But realistically, I can only think of Sancho, who would have made more of a difference, because United don't have a right winger. But he's not playing Van der Beek. So that to me suggests that it doesn't matter who you would have given him. I don't necessarily think he would have taken us to the next level. I disagree on you when you say that no manager can do better, because this Man United side is massively underperforming. There's talent here, Robbie. There's a lot of talent in this squad. There's holes. And you talk about Maguire. I mean, I like Harry Maguire. I don't think he's a top bracket defender. But you put him next to a really, really good defender who, for example, has recovery pace, who can really build a partnership with things. I know you're not a big fan of Lindelof. We know that. Even if it's Axel or Mengi, someone like that, I have no issue with that. I'm happy with that. But someone who can complement his deficiencies, you'll see Maguire emerge as a really good defender. But this is what I'm saying. He's signed Wan-Bissaka and Maguire, and these are his signings. And I don't necessarily think that, they've improved a huge amount. And this is when people say to me, Ollie needs time. You also earn time. And he earned time last season. But I'm not too sure now at the moment. I'm not saying go and sack him tomorrow. But I think valid questions have to be asked. And I disagree on another manager wouldn't get more and hit the ceiling, because this squad is not playing anywhere near its potential. Paul Pogba is not playing anywhere near his potential. Van der Beek's not playing anywhere near his potential. Neither's Cavani. Obviously, he's coming into the squad.
I need to jump in here though, but you've seen Pogba have the exact same issue under other managers. So I don't understand where it comes into play. Like, everyone seemed to now all of a sudden love Jose Mourinho, which I don't understand.
Yeah, it's nonsense, Robbie. That's nonsense. That's revisionism. Jose Mourinho had to go. We all know that. He had to go.
I feel as if the team that we had is 10 times better. I think there's way more positives with Ole now than what there was when Mourinho ever has been. Jose Mourinho went out to make a team straight away, a team that would challenge, and we came second somehow. I mean, was it even really second? Like, I think we were fourth on the last day. We managed to sneak up to second, but he designed a team, an impact team, whereas Ole has built a team for the future. And I think because he's not getting backed, there's holes in the squad. And I know you say the team's completely underperformed. We've not got anyone on the right-hand side. I don't know if you've seen the heat maps.
But think about heat maps. One thing I'll say about heat maps. Yeah, go on.
No, it's just everyone's on the left.
It's a problem we've had for years.
We know that reason. We know why it is. We've spoke about this before. We don't have a right wing. We don't have even. We've got Dan James, but he's probably better on the left as well. It's a terrible situation we're in, and we either need to start playing some young guys or sign someone in January. That's the only way. That's the only way it can go for me.
What Ollie's had to do this season, and this does, I agree with you, it couples with the fact that Mason Greenwood, whatever's going on with him off the pitch, and don't want to comment on that because we don't know what's going on, but because Greenwood hasn't hit any form yet, hasn't played, so we've got a real problem. Ollie's tried to cover up that right wing all season, and that's coming now to cause problems, and that's not necessarily his fault. I'm not blaming him for that. What I will say is, you talk about building a side. I mean, I don't want to talk about Jose Mourinho because Jose Mourinho is gone. He's doing well at Spurs. Fine, whatever. He might win the title. He might not. I don't care. It doesn't make any difference to me on what he did at Man United, because he was not a good influence at Man United. And I'm a massive Jose Mourinho fan. I love Jose Mourinho, but he had to go. And I'm happier under Ollie. I've enjoyed the football more under Ollie than I have under Jose. That doesn't mean the football's been good, by the way, in my opinion. And that's where I sit. See, where I sit on Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is, and I always say this on my own podcast, and I say this to everyone, he's an A to B manager. So it's very similar to what Conte, and you're going to say Conte won the title at Juventus. Forget about that. But Antonio Conte, in Italy, Juventus win every single year. When he came into Juventus, obviously he won the title there. He was taking them from A to B. And in Italy for Juventus, A to B was winning the title, the Scudetto, which they hadn't won for years and years. They got relegated, they came back up. But they can never get to B to C. Juventus always wanted to win the Champions League. They haven't won the Champions League since 1996. So they brought in Allegri. And then they knew every year they were going to win the Scudetto every single year, but they wanted to win the Champions League. And they got so close twice. Conte could never get them to B to C. In Europe, he doesn't do very well. He flops. When I look at Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, that's what I see. A to B. What was this for Man United? It was to clean up the toxic mess that Jose Mourinho left, which was toxic. We nearly lost Greenwood, by the way, because he wasn't going to get a look into the squad. We obviously nearly lost Martial, and we nearly lost Rashford and Pogba. That's how bad it was. Yeah. That's how bad it was. Now, when we talk about Ole, is he a success for me? I never had high standards for him, because why should I have had high standards for him? Because he hasn't, it's not his fault, but his CV doesn't suggest that he's going to take United to the top. So success for me is, has he left the squad in a better place than when he came in? Yeah, 100%. This is a good squad. These are happy players. The players are playing for him, by the way. Anyone that thinks they're not is just pushing an agenda. They are. They haven't down tools, nothing like that. The issues arise is that he's taken United from A to B. What's that? Get rid of people that didn't want to be here. Lukaku, Sanchez, Smalling to an extent. You know, these sort of players. Ashley Young, get them out. Integrate some youth, which we've done. Fix the off-field problems. Completely revamp the academy with Nicky Butt and Nick Cox, which is fantastic, by the way. As you know, we talk about the academy quite a bit. So that's what he's done. That's success. But A to B is, right, United are now a top 4 side. I don't think he can take us from B to C. If he had better players, could he be closer? Yes, but I still don't think United ever win a title under Ole. And that's not an insult to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, but there's just nothing I see which suggests he can. But if he left tomorrow and he got sacked, would I be appreciative? Would I say he's a success? Yes, because for me, I can see beyond the title. I can see beyond trophies. I can see that United needed someone to steady the ship who basically just fixed the culture. And he's done that. And that's okay, Robbie. He's taking United from A to B. So when I say I think another manager can do better, that's not to say Ollie's been a failure. He's just done what I expected him to do, and that's it. And that my expectations of him aren't the same as a Jose Mourinho, because Jose Mourinho is a better manager. That maybe for United, Ollie's been better, but Jose Mourinho is a better manager. So this is a way I see it. And fans think you're Ollie in, Ollie out. I'm not. I'm Man United in. I want United to do well. But I can also see that when he came in, great run of results, got the job, drop off dramatic. Again, Bruno comes in, great run of results. And then what? Now what's happening? Drop off again. That's not good enough for a club of Man United. The inconsistency. And he's got a good squad. So where do I sit on this? I'm not saying for him to get sacked tomorrow, but he's been a success for me, and I'm eternally grateful. But I look at him as a manager, not the player. I'm not saying you do that, but a lot of people just can't separate the player and the manager. So Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, A to B manager. Can you get someone from B to C? Not Man United.
Yeah, I think we spoke about that enough. And I mean, we could make a podcast alone probably on just talking about Ole, and we're going to disagree. But definitely we'll disagree. But yeah, anyway, we're just going to move on to...
And Robbie, that's fine, by the way. Disagreeing is completely fine.
Yeah.
The best thing is to be able to sit down like we can and actually talk about these things. And you sit on one side, I sit on another, but we both want the best for United.
And put through our valid points and opinions, whereas a lot of people don't do that. I feel like, especially in our fan base, that's why we get a bad name. I mean, I was basically fighting my guy on Twitter last night, and he was like, "Oh, Scott McTominay, come on, like I'm turning my TV off," and I'm like, "Why would you ever do that?" And he's like, "Because I hate him." I was like, "I don't hate anyone, not me, a footballer. Like, why would you act like that? It's like to one of our players who, to be honest, actually came on, I felt, against West Brom, by the way, if we're talking about this. And I don't think he was bad. Like, I don't think he was amazing. But Scott McTominay's never going to play your... I said this to him, he's never going to play your Hollywood ball. He's cool, calm and collected. Like, that's all you're going to get from him. But anyway, I could talk about that for ages because it's annoyed me.
You love Scotty McTominay, don't you? We all know that. He's your boy.
Well, I mean, he scored in the playoff final to put us through the Euros. Probably one of the best days of my life. I've already booked London.
Have you?
Yeah, during the summer.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, when you're there, mate, we'll definitely catch up. Hopefully, with everything calms down. You know, I live just outside London, so mate, we'll definitely do that. Yeah. The long-awaited drink that we've been saying we're going to do.
Yeah, all I need to do now is just order my kilt, and then I'm away to Trafalgar Square. That's me.
Love it, mate. Let's do it. Yeah. Awesome.
So anyway, back to United. So we're going to just talk about. I mean, I've seen this on Twitter as well. Basically, the whole community talk. I do base it off what is happening on Twitter and just the news, really. And I've seen a lot of guys talk about, the fact that AC Milan look as if they're back, look as if Zlatan is just their god. He's amazing. Let's be real. Probably one of the best players in the world at the moment. and you look as if like they are kind of coming back to their elite stage. And I mean, some people would say that they have dropped off and they aren't an elite club anymore, one of your biggest in the world. But I've seen a lot of people being nervous on Twitter saying that possibly United will lose this elite stance in football. So I was just wondering, what do you think about it? How do you think that will happen? Do you think that's a valid argument?
Look, that's a tough one. Let me just talk about AC Milan really quickly, because I've done a podcast before with a really big AC Milan fan, and he's told me the situation at AC Milan. And I watch a lot of Italian football. Firstly, AC Milan, their commercial worth as a club is 400 million euros. Man United is nearly 3 billion. So, sorry, 400 million pounds. United's nearly 4 billion pounds. So at the end of the day, United will never lose their status as a commercial giant because they're just too big. So anyone that's worried that United will never be in the elite, they'll always be in the elite. Unfortunately, at the moment, I don't think United are an elite team. I think they're an elite club, and they'll never lose that. So anyone that's worrying United going the same way as AC Milan, the difference between United and Milan is that United can buy their way out of it if they want to. Milan, the problem in Italy, and this is why they signed Gazidis, is because they don't have the commercial prowess or the commercial power that Premier League clubs have. And they're very behind the times. So now what they're doing is they're obviously selling advertising space, etc., etc. Because Milan are like, right, we've got no money. That's why they have no money. We need to create ourselves as a brand. Man United are years and years ahead of all these teams. We're getting caught up a little bit because we're not winning on the pitch. And I think that's the argument, that if we don't win on the pitch, will the sponsorships dry up? Potentially. I think they are already. I think when we renew our shirts at the end of this season or next season, I think we might be surprised, coupled with COVID, how much we're going to get. What I will say about Man United is that
hopefully we lose this. Chevrolet.
Yeah. Yeah, I hope so, mate. I hope so. I mean, it's a really good sponsor for us in terms of the money, but it's disgusting. Look at it.
It's horrible.
Will we end up like AC Milan? Look, what I will say about AC Milan is that they had Gattuso in charge. They've gone from manager to manager to manager, right? They had an ex-player in charge who did really well there, and he got sacked. Rightly or wrongly, he got them just 1 point off the Champions League. He got sacked. And I'm just saying this because it maybe mirrors United a little bit. They brought in a manager who I thought would do really well, Gianpaolo, got sacked within 6 games. They brought in Pioli. Now, Pioli's a well-established, good Serie A Italian manager. Now, you see Gattuso's he's now at Napoli, yeah. But the problem is that with United is that they've got to decide, right? Are they happy with what they got? Or do they do what Milan did and bring someone who's more experienced and who's got more credibility, basically, as a manager? And that's what Milan have done, and it's worked. He was meant to lose his job, and Ralph Rangnick was meant to come in, who's fantastic. They ended up staying with Pioli, and Zlatan's turned them around. They bought well as well. I don't think United should be worried, and fans should be worried about ending up like the next Milan. And they might not even win the Serie A because they're on a great form right now, but it's about 38 games, right? We say this all the time. They're about 10 games in or whatever it is. What I will say is fans just not need to worry about United losing their global status. What they need to worry about is that they won't be attractive to the top players coming through. The Haalands of the world, the Bellinghams of the world, because we're not right now. I think Haaland and Bellingham have done the right thing going to Dortmund and developing their game and playing for a club which they know they'll get game time. There's a clear pathway, 2-3 years, and then they'll go. This is what United need to fix. Now, you can do that with 2 ways with the strategy. Don't go for Sancho's. Go for people like Bellingham and Haaland when they're young, develop them, which I'm okay with. That's fine with me. But get a proper director of football to do that. And this is a thing. So, last point, no, United fans shouldn't worry. We'll always be a global powerhouse. We should worry, though, if we're going to end up missing out on top talent to other clubs around Europe.
Yeah, I think you basically said exactly what I'd have said, but we definitely agree on this point that we'll never, ever lose like the fact that we're one of the biggest clubs in the world. I mean, you could argue we're probably the biggest because we've got fan base from all over the world, from the players that we bring in through like shirt deals. I mean, how many shirts do you think fans actually buy a year? It is. I mean, I think you'll know more about that yourself, but like all over the world, everyone knows who United are. But basically, I don't want to say it, but we're kind of like a franchise, like in a way where everyone knows us around the world. We'll always have that. Whereas AC Milan, I think you kind of look at that and you think, have they kind of lost a lot of their kind of morals? I mean, they signed some really bad players, and since the time between it was like Pirlo, like around about that kind of era to like now. I mean, they signed like your Fabio Borini. He's absolutely terrible. But I mean, I hope we'll never ever end up like that. I highly doubt it. I need to agree with you. I think people were just completely overreacting. And to be honest, I don't want to waste any more time on it. So we'll move on to the next question that I was thinking about, and I think we all kind of disagree on this one actually. As usual, when we're always disagreeing, we never get on, don't we? Not?
But you, mate, I love you, so it's all good.
Yeah, no, I was just kidding on, don't worry. Yeah, so I was just going to say just about West Brom, and what do you think about the game? Do you think, like, I mean, it was 1-0 obviously, and it wasn't amazing, but how poor did we actually play?
I've had people agree with me and disagree with me on this. I've had people say to me, oh, we had 17 shots, we had 645 passes, we had 63% possession. It was attacking. Biggest thing, guys. And look, you've watched the game. United won. They got the 3 points. That was important. But you know, as much as you're an Ollie supporter, you know that was not a good enough performance. You know that wasn't an attacking performance. We had chances and we weren't good at our finishing wasn't good enough. But you know, Robbie, deep down, we didn't move the ball fast enough. It wasn't entertaining. You weren't sitting there on the edge of your seat. You couldn't turn around and say, you know that, but this is a problem. You look at statistics and you're like, oh, 17 shots, United must have peppered the goal. Sam Johnson had a great game. For me, and I said this on my own podcast, that it wasn't good enough, the performance. It wasn't. My issue is this, right? People talk about ugly wins. Ugly wins are really important. I agree. But you got to look at the context of an ugly win. An ugly win is this, right? Liverpool sitting top. Let's say they're sitting top of the league. Week in, week out, they play fantastic football. It hurts. I hate it. We've had this discussion many times, but they play fantastic football. But when they win ugly, it's when they don't perform on one day. So out of 5 games, 1 game they'll win ugly. The other 4 they'll play well. But they win ugly because they're a top side. Man United haven't earned the right to win ugly because they're not winning well. Does that make sense? They're not winning convincingly week in, week out. So people are saying it's one result. I'm happy with a ugly win. No, but United played like this for the past, since the beginning of the season, minus Leipzig. And again, Leipzig was 1-0 at 75 minutes. It was fantastic. It was a great result. And it was the most amazing feeling. But Man United haven't played, free-flowing, fast attacking football. The most entertaining game in the league, I would say, has probably been the Everton game. That was brilliant. And again, that wasn't necessarily free-flowing attack. So when people say it's an ugly win, and I don't want to spend too much time on West Brom. We won the game, we move on. But people that are justifying it, saying it was an attacking performance, it's nonsense. United's problem is that we're not a free-flowing side. We're not winning well. So when we win like that, that's the norm for me. It's not winning ugly.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, West Brom game, I was nearly falling asleep watching it. Like, yes, Sam Johnson made a couple of good saves, but I mean, some of my friends were like, with the Martial shot early on, and it was kind of like a reaction save. I feel as if Martial made it very easy for him as well. Like, it was kind of just, Martial is having an absolute howler recently, and you think, does he need a break? We'll probably go and talk about that whenever we're talking about the Istanbul Besiktas game, but yeah, I think obviously it wasn't amazing. It didn't look great, the game. The fact we only beat West Brom 1-0 whenever they've only, I think they're sitting 18th and they haven't won a game yet this season, which is kind of unheard of. A lot of teams are in the same position this year. But see, at the end of the day, for me, and I know you probably won't completely agree with this. I mean, you do the Masterclass series, which is all about tactics, but that's not me. I think that if we manage to get the 3 points, good, bad, the ugly. Yes, I'd quite like to break it down, talk about it, but at the end of the day, we came back with 3 points. We got a home win, surprisingly. I mean, which is, Old Trafford seems like a death trap now for us. It's terrible.
1972 it was. That's the worst run. At 1 point, it was 1 point from 12. Obviously, now it's about 4 from 15. Yeah, crazy.
Yeah, and I'm sure it's only Donny van der Beek that's actually scored from open play at Old Trafford for us this season in the league, which is, I'm just like, how? Like, what are we doing wrong? There's no fans. Like, and I do agree with Roy Keane's point on this as well, and I do quite like Roy Keane. I think he's a good character, and he said, see playing in front of Old Trafford, even if it's not got any fans in it, that should be a privilege to play in such a prestigious stadium. It's got so much history in it, so many players that have succeeded that have played before you, and it looks as if there's some guys on that park. I mean, we obviously didn't really see some of them, certainly like as much. I mean, Martial stood out to me. I think he was bloody terrible. I think he was so bad. But I mean, your Pogba's recently, like, they just don't look as if they're playing for the badge. But then whenever it seems as if all these jobs on the line, it's as if they all they activate their superhuman, I don't know, like ability.
Well, they end up looking quality. Yeah.
It.
What I will add to that is, I don't know what the statistics are now. I haven't looked at it recently, but when they were talking at the Chelsea game against Newcastle, they were saying that 34 of the victories have been for the away sides, most ever, and 29 for the home side. So obviously, having no fans, and I don't like to use the excuse, it's nonsense. Everyone has no fans, but having no fans there, for example, let's say when Chelsea go away to Newcastle, they've lost there over the past few years. Lampard struggled there because the Toon is a difficult place to go. The fan base do get behind the team. It can be an absolute cauldron, and it can be quite intimidating and daunting, and the players feed off that. Now, it's funny because actually United's home record hasn't been great over the past few years because the old Stretford End. I mean, look, we all go to games. When I go regularly, the Stretford End, you can hear the frustration and the anger, and they're not the most patient. We are patient fans, but Stretford End isn't patient. And when you look at it, these players then they go in their shells, but they should actually now, right, there's no pressure. But something is really off, and I don't know what it is. And it's very frustrating because you can lay blame at the manager's door, but you can't as well. These players have to motivate themselves. Now, when it comes to Anthony Martial, I've had a chance to rewatch the game. Obviously, I do the Masterclass podcast. We've broken it down, and I did question, maybe is it time for Cavani to come in because Martial's playing really badly. Now, do you play him through the bad patch? Or do you not? But actually, Marcus Rashford had a really bad game as well, and people are not picking up on it. I tweeted just before this, and I love Marcus, but he wasn't running the channels. Now, he was injured. We know that. He's had a tear in his shoulder. He trained once, I believe, over the past 2 weeks. Once. So he didn't look quite right at it. Yeah, he shouldn't have played. But apparently, when obviously I did the podcast with Rob, he's got a bit of inside knowledge. He said that Rashford told Ollie, I want to play. And Ollie's like, okay, fine. And this is where Ollie needs to stand up and say, if he's not fit, Dan James isn't the flavour of the month. If Dan James had played, half the fan base would have had a meltdown. But Marcus wasn't fit. He wasn't running the channels. And if he's not running the channels, Tellez can't overlap. So while Martial struggled and was not good enough, and I agree with you, and I would be thinking, right, I don't know if you should start against Istanbul. I'd go 3-5-2 and start Cavani, and I'd start Greenwood if he's fit to play. I'd give Marcus a rest. But looking at it, Marcus was just as bad. And if your wingers are not doing anything, and Mata didn't do very much, did he, in the game? Let's be honest. Then what can you do? But Martial should have scored that chance. That was poor. I agree with you, mate. We were agreeing on something. But I think Martial was bad, but I thought Rashford was worse. And I think there is a section of the fan base that do like to perhaps, not saying you, but there are people that do like to go in on Martial and Pogba. And that game was perfect for Pogba. That's what I said. I tweeted before. I said, you know what? They're going to sit deep. We'll need someone like Paul Pogba to either come off the bench or start this game. And if it weren't for the penalty, Robbie, we were no closer to scoring, even with 17 shots. So those are saying, like you said, win, lose, or draw is fine. If we won 10 games like that in a row, I'm happy. 1-0, that's fine. But the problem is that we're not winning ugly. We're not grinding out results. Let's see if it's a change. But it's concerning for me. I'm concerned right now at the situation Man United are in.
Yeah, there's absolutely no consistency throughout the full team. I mean, you look at individual players as well, and I don't think there's one player who is really consistent for us this season. I mean, yes, players are starting to kind of dip in and out of form, but that's not good enough. You play for one of the biggest teams in the world. You should be motivated to play wherever you go, pull on that shirt, and it's just not happening. And I'm going to actually go on about consistency and the next point I'm going to ask you about, and it's the fact about the Istanbul game and what we need to do different from playing away in Istanbul in Turkey, where it was probably one of the worst games I've seen for United for years. I mean, the positional awareness from the Demabaz goal, I don't know what was happening. From the second goal as well, there was absolutely no one on the other side, on the opposing side of play. Whenever the ball went over to, I'm sure it was Visca who scored. No one was there, and I look at that and I think, where's the consistency in the team? And you look, I can't really blame one player in particular for that for all those incidents that happened in the game. We were terrible throughout it, and the one thing though that we did talk about earlier on, and I'm pretty sure you can go more in depth about it, is that there was absolutely no width at all in that game. Everything was so central, and it looked as if we were never going to score a second. And it was the way that in the first half, though. I mean, Juan Mata, I don't know why he keeps getting played out wide. I would rather see Dan James playing out in the right. It's completely pointless playing him there. Play Juan Mata down the middle if you're ever going to use him. There is no point. He's got no pace. I mean, I think he turns very slow now as well. I love Juan Mata, and I've got great memories from Juan Mata playing. I mean, I've seen him score free kicks in person. Great. I mean, I've seen him. What you spoke about the tournament in Newcastle. I've seen him score a free kick into Newcastle, and it was fantastic. I've got great memories from goal against Anfield, but I mean, he also got Player of the Month for us as well. But then you look at it and you think, what is the point of playing players out of position? What does that gain? And I'm an advocate for players to always play in their position. And if there isn't any fit players in that position, then you need to look at your youth. You don't look at players who are just getting kind of flung in the deep end, like guys like Mata, for example. What use does he do out wide? I'd like to hear your views on that as well, like about what we can basically change from the last Istanbul game to the one that we're coming on to tomorrow.
I agree with you. I don't think United could have played any worse. Robbie, that was bad in Istanbul. That was really, really bad. The problem is that United struggled against a low block. And you're right, we didn't have any width. So what do United need to do? How do you break down a low block? Two ways. Play with width, exploit the spaces out wide. We don't do that enough. Or play through the middle, but you play intricate passes. You have to have technical players. Again, I don't think United have them. They have technical players, but I don't think they have the quality to do that. You know, sort of bursting through the lines. It's something that Liverpool do very well. I keep on talking about Liverpool, but they're the standard at the moment. It hurts, but they're the standard. And United should be hurting at that. The fans are hurting. Are the players? Are the club? I don't know. Ollie probably is.
No.
But are the players? Bruno Fernandes probably is. But are the other players? Rashford possibly, but they're not hurting like we are. They you know, the day that Liverpool won the title, those players in that dressing room should have turned around. This is the problem. There's a lack of leadership. Harry Maguire, for me, okay, he's captain, but I don't see a person. I don't see a Roy Keane. Obviously, don't make them like Roy Keane anymore. What can United do differently? I think they need to return to three at the back, personally, because if they can't play with width, like you said, we don't have a right winger. Play with wing backs. Tellers was fantastic against PSG. I still think the three at the back is United's best formation, because purely we don't have a winger, so then you can play two up top. So that could be Rashford and Martial, or that could be Cavani and Greenwood. Any of those combinations. We've got four strong options that can play. And when Martial plays with someone and Rashford plays with someone, I think they both benefit from that, rather than playing that lone striker role. Then you look at the midfield. If you've got three at the back, you can then, one, play Axel, which you need to do. You need to play Axel Tuanzebe. He's not getting enough game time for me. You can possibly play Lindelof and Maguire with him. But playing three at the back allows you then to not play with both Fred and McTominay. You've got the protection behind you. You can now push the midfield a little bit further up. You can have Bruno with a Van der Beek and say a Fred or a McTominay. You got Matic as well, who's not hit any form, and that's a big problem for United. That is one of the main reasons why you can't play Pogba or Van der Beek with Bruno, because Nemanja Matic, his legs are gone, and we gave him a 3-year contract. And I love Matic, and I hope it's just a blip in form and it's going to take him time. But we gave him a 3-year contract, Robbie.
Yeah, I remember I actually spoke to you about this when we disagreed. I can remember you did say that he deserves it. And yeah, I thought he did hit form as well. And he was probably one of our most influential players last year. But
he is our most important player.
I mean, this year he's been non-existent.
This is the thing.
Mid.
Yeah, we need a defensive midfield. That's we'll talk about who we need. But this is a problem. So the fact that Nemanja Matic is nowhere near any sort of form, that means that we can't play two more creative players in midfield. So Ollie's reverted to type and he's gone right pragmatism. I can trust Fred and McTominay, and they've earned their place. But the problem is we can't progress the ball from defense to attack quick enough. And so what do United do? I don't know if Pogba's going to play. I think Van der Beek needs to play. If Van der Beek's not going to play, he needs game time. And I know people say, "Oh, it's only the start of the season," but he still needs to play. And every time I've seen him play, I've been impressed. Istanbul was not his fault. People are saying, "Oh, well, look, you got your midfield of Van der Beek, Matic, and Bruno." The problem is you cannot play Mata, Van der Beek, and Bruno in one side. You just can't. That just doesn't work. Now you say Mata on the right wing. Mata's played right wing pretty much his whole career at United. I think we failed him as a club. He came at the wrong time. He's a fantastic player. One of my favorite signings United have made in a long, long time. He's earned his place, but yeah, it's a problem at right wing. Now, the reason why he's playing is because we're playing teams with a low block. We want to unpick them, but he hasn't been effective. Now, what do United do? Don't play a right winger, so go to three at the back. Right, Wan-Bissaka is going to play as wing back. That's another issue, by the way, going forward. But the United are much more effective. They're much more solid. And that's what they should do going forward. So, yeah, I'd be going for three at the back. Give Axel a game. I'd go for three in midfield again. Give Van der Beek a game. Maybe play with Fred and McTominay, whichever one. Probably McTominay because Fred played the other day. Play the wing backs. Get Tellez. Get him bombing up that flank. And then up front, I'd go Cavani and Greenwood if he's fit. If no Greenwood, I'd give Martial a game and Wan-Bissaka on the right. And that's what I'd be doing because United need to adapt to their deficiency, or they need to fix the problem. We don't have a right winger, so don't play with one.
Yeah, I need to agree with you. I hope that is the formation that we do go with. And I think the league as well. I think we need to adapt that formation in the league. Obviously, I think it is a lot trickier playing the three in the back or the five, whatever you want to call it, with three right-footed centre backs. Sorry, I think Luke Shaw does fit into that formation quite well, but we should obviously be looking at a left-footed centre back in the window as well. But obviously, we're going to move on just now and talk about who you think are realistic signings for January. I mean, have you any names spring to mind?
I've spoken to a few people and asked them what are United going to do, and the general consensus is United will do some business, but the problem is that Diallo's coming in, very talented. He's not going to start. He's going to go to the 23 straight away. So why? I'm not saying United shouldn't have signed him. It's a good signing, but you've got two players. Pelistri's another one. Again, fantastic talent. Brilliant cross, by the way. I looked at that cross and I thought, that's a right winger right there. But he's just not ready yet. Maybe come January he might be. Play another month or so, but I don't think he is. I don't think he'll feature. Maybe at the end, but I don't think he'll feature. He's got to adapt, and this is a problem that the pressure on these two young lads, because United didn't do good enough business in the summer. The pressure on these two lads, pressure on Diallo to come in and make a difference is immense. And if he doesn't, we've seen what happened with Dan James. If he doesn't perform, he gets stick. Our fan base is so fickle, right? One result, this player's world class. One bad result, this player's can't even. It's not even good enough to pay for Cardiff City. That's what happens with our fan base. I think realistically, I think we might go in for another centre back. I think Upamecano is one player who I think we might go in for. He's not been very good this season, if I'm being honest with you. We saw him at United against United. He got ripped to shreds, but we've seen reports, obviously, that Bayern Munich look like they have to sort out what's happening with Alaba. Man City might go and buy their 500th centre back. Liverpool will be in looking for centre backs as well. So Upamecano, I think it's a now or never. If not, it'll be next summer. We'll be looking at him. I'm not convinced we get him, to be honest with you. The other one as well is that United need to find a right winger. But for me, the most important position, I've said it, is defensive midfield. Such an important position. Like, there's so many options that you can go for. The thing is that when Matic was playing well, the defense looked better, and it was a platform for the attack to go forward and express themselves. Because they know, and even Pogba can play in a two, by the way. Anyone that thinks he can't, it's nonsense, he can. But the problem is that Matic is not playing very well, so when he can't play because he's not as disciplined. So I've said from day one, Zakaria, we had this chat in April, remember before? I said, Dennis Zakaria is class. Me, you, and United Link, we were talking about it. 40 million euros. It's a steal. United need to sort that position out because they need to find someone that can dictate the play. I want a Carrick sort of player. We can't. We're a counter-attacking side, Robbie. That's the reality of it. And why? Because we don't have anyone in the middle of the park who can dictate the tempo and the game. And that's what I hope we'll do. To be honest with you, mate, I don't expect us to do much business. We might try going for Upamecano, but I don't know. I mean, Axel, I really like. I like Mengi as well. If you're not going to play these lads, go and put them on loan. They need to go and play as well. They need to develop.
Yeah, I think the Upamecano, it kind of seems as if I've listened to Christian Falk, and it seems as if he's going to move to Bayern Munich. I think that's their number one target as Alaba's moving on, as you said, probably to Manchester City. But I think we also need to look at other players as well, because Upamecano, he's right-footed, yeah, I'm sure. And I think we need to look at left-footed centre-backs as well, because, I mean, Maguire, long-term, yes, he's good centre-back, but I just don't think Lindelof cuts it. Squad player, yes, he can bring in and play a couple of games here or there, not overly, not like, let's say, 30-plus games a season. That's too much for me. But I think we do need a left-footed, ball-playing centre-back.
There was one, Robbie. He went to Arsenal and he's quality. Gabriel. Yeah. I said all summer, we have to get Gabriel. We have to get him. 27 million.
Yeah,
he's transformed their defence. Yeah,
I don't think he was even in the question for United, though. I think
fourth choice, I believe. Yeah.
I think Gabriel was there just to kind of cause a smoke screen and let Arsenal kind of jump in, and also kind of raise their bid. I think probably will use their name. Everyone seems to do it. It's painful. Fingers crossed we would get guys. If not, then we need to sign guys during the summer. I mean, I would love us to sign Haaland. I know we've not spoken about this position, but realistically we need a striker, we need a right wing, defensive midfielder, and a centre back. That is a lot of players. I mean, you're talking probably over 200 million.
I'd argue as well, we need another right back to come in. The reports are coming out today that Brandon Williams, Southampton, interested again. Now, I don't know what's happened to Brandon. I would like to see him at right back at some stage. I'd like to see what he can do there. But the thing is, in the academy, he didn't really play right back much. He played left back. For me, I just can't deal with him at left back. It completely changes the way that United play. The whole point in the system is that obviously it's Luke Shaw or Telles who's going to be bombing forward way more. Now, if he's right-footed, we've seen many times that the attack used to stop with him. Remember, he'd stop and look inside. Something Shaw's done all right recently is you got to give him credit, is he has got forward and put in a few good crosses. I'm not Shaw's biggest fan, you know that. I know you're not either. And Telles, for me, should take the spot. But we've got two good options there now. The problem is as well, is that when Ollie came in, he does want to play attacking football. But for him, it was about having two attacking fullbacks. That's what he did at Mulder. Two very good attacking fullbacks. He'd have a striker that plays on the last man, which was Haaland, who he wanted. Martial does not play on the last man. He likes to drop deep too much. So Ollie likes 4-3-3. This is what he wants to play, right? He wants two attacking fullbacks. So why do you sign Wan-Bissaka, who I think is fantastic, but he's not an attacking fullback? He wants to play a high line. Why have you not signed a quicker centre back? Because Maguire's slow. He's not good enough to play with a high line. Obviously, he needs a better partner. Bailly needs to go, by the way. He's made of glass. He needs to go. And then he wants to play. He wants his wingers, obviously, to be running the channels. So he needed Sancho, really. That's what he needed. And then, obviously, he liked to play with a 4-3-3, which means that the defensive midfielder has to be, one, athletic, and two, a good passer. And he wants to play with 2 8s. He wants to play with, I think Pogba will go. So it'll be Van der Beek and Bruno, maybe a Grealish if he comes in. That's how Ollie wants to play. But Haaland was key to it. I agree with you. Haaland was the striker. He plays on the last man. Martial doesn't do that. I really think Martial's talented, but one, he's streaky. You can't rely on someone like that to lead the line at United. And two, he doesn't play the way that Ollie wants him to play. So you're completely right. I completely forgot about Haaland. I don't really hold us having any chance, Robbie. I think he's off to Real or somewhere like that. And that's the sad reality. So Mason Greenwood then, really?
Yeah, Mason Greenwood, I mean, I'm quite... I don't want to comment on Mason Greenwood. I spoke about it in the last one. I think he's obviously getting quite a lot of bad press just now, which isn't what you should be doing with someone who is 19, 18, 19, young guy. But with Haaland as well, I mean, that would take obviously a lot of pressure off him. We obviously know what Haaland can do. Quality player. And we should also have signed him whenever he was at Salzburg. He's probably the best player in Europe at the time. Scoring goals for fun, made it look easy. Still does. I mean, he scored 4 against Hertha Berlin there. I watched the game, it was a joke. He makes it look so easy, as if the defence just isn't there. He's so quick, agile for such a big guy as well. I mean, he can win the headers, which you look at and you think, can Martial win the headers? No.
And he's a natural finisher, Robbie. That's the key. Natural finisher. You know, like my favorite player growing up, obviously we're both pretty young. Well, I'm 25. I know you're a bit younger than me. I'm a bit old, aren't I? But my favorite player growing up was Ruud van Nistelrooy. Best striker I've ever seen. Best finisher I've ever seen. Obviously, I was young at the time when he joined. I was about six or 7 years old. Absolutely loved him. And I'm not saying that Haaland's like him, but he reminds me of him. Like Haaland, I think, is quicker. He probably does he's probably a bit more physical than Van Nistelrooy, but you knew that when Ruud got into the box, one shot, one chance. One chance, one goal. You just knew he was always going to finish. He was that clinical. Haaland reminds you of that. He scored 4 goals. And look, the Bundesliga isn't, I know people like to say it's a farmers league. It isn't a farmers league. There's a lot of quality there. But you're right. And I think United will really regret that one. I think they'll regret Jude Bellingham as well. But again, that was for different reasons. Well, United didn't sign Haaland because Dortmund sat down and said, right, 3 meetings with him. This is how we're going to play you. They did presentations. He had one conversation with Ollie, and he didn't feel like United was the right place for him to develop. So that's on United, and this is a problem. If you had footballing men in there, someone like Van der Sar, I'm sure he would have sat down with him and gone through things more in a football way, rather than Woodward saying, hey, here's $100,000 a week, mate. Like, Haaland's serious about football, and he will be the best player in the world within 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, he's absolutely fantastic. And I mean, I could talk about him for ages. He would be one of my main targets. But realistically, we're not going to get Sancho and Haaland. We'll probably get none of them. But
it's depressing, Robbie. Look, you got to try and be positive. But unfortunately, you can't, because I think the Sancho ship has sailed. I said that after the summer. And it's quite clear he wanted the move. And people are now saying it's not worth that money. Well, actually, when players don't get a big move, his head's not quite right. Doesn't mean he's suddenly a bad player. And this is a problem again with United fans. If Haaland has a dip, people say, oh, he's overrated. He's a one-season wonder. But we missed out on Sancho. Now, looks like we signed Diallo. I can't see us getting Sancho. There's a very big possibility he possibly could even go to Chelsea. And that will hurt a lot, mate. But Haaland, again, we've missed out on him. This is a problem. Jack Grealish is another player that we should be looking at. I think he's a fantastic player. Are we going to sign him? I don't know who we're going to sign, but we've got to be positive. But like on the spin, spinning that on his head, United got good quality in the squad, I think, and they should be pushing for 3rd, in my opinion.
Yes, I mean, with Jack Grealish as well, I was completely wrong with Jack Grealish last year. I mean, I think you know this. I didn't really rate him as much as, I mean, this season he's completely taken off. He's a different player. It looks as if he's completely steered Aston Villa well clear of relegation. Fantastic player. Looks completely off the cards now. So does Grealish, obviously. Jude Bellingham off the cards. He's moved to Dortmund. Frustrating. And I'm just going to finish it off there. If you get any more points you want to say about United going forward?
Look, like I said at the beginning, there's quality in this squad. It's just about consistency. And for me, and I will disagree on this, but I think they need to be drilled a little bit better. We'll see what happens. It's still all to play for. A lot of big sides are faltering. Can United take advantage? Consistency in history suggests no, but you never know in football. So that's what I'm going to say. Yeah,
it's been a pleasure having you on, Haider. Thanks for coming on, mate.
Always a pleasure, mate, and thank you. And good luck with what you're doing. You're doing some really great work.
Yeah, so obviously Haider's got his Twitter on the screen just now, but he's obviously doing great work on EFS Media as well. So good luck with that. And for anyone who's new and stayed to the end to watch the Community Talk podcast, just obviously make sure to like and subscribe. And this will be out you'll see this just before the Istanbul game. So hopefully we'll get the result. So thanks.